what's up everyone? Welcome to CineMike. The Lethal Weapon series has been retired for over 18 years now, but this fall it's being resurrected in the form of a new TV series. So I figured that I'd take a look back over one of my childhood favorites in the action genre, and then jump forward to the present. So, for this episode, I'm going to be reviewing and ranking the Lethal Weapon movies, and then go over my review for the new show. If you're just looking to get my thoughts on the new show, then click the link at the bottom to skip to it. Now let's get right into this. The movies might seem dated to some. They've been copied so heavily that they could feel a little too predictable and formulaic to newer viewers. And after Mel Gibson's anti-Semitic antics, he may feel a little dated as well. However, the series defined and set the standard for the buddy cop genre. It was incredibly influential and helped inspire such films as Bad Boys with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. You've seen it parodied in a ton of ways, in a ton of media, from skit shows to the internet, Hot Fuzz partly, and most notably in Loaded Weapon, which starred Samuel Jackson and Emilio Estevez. And if nothing else, then I'm sure everyone has at least heard the most quoted line from this movie. It was created by Shane Black, also known for writing and directing Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and directed by Richard Donner, who is a pretty big name in the industry, but if you've never heard the name, you've definitely seen at least one of his movies. He directed The Omen, The Goonies, and Superman with Christopher Reeves. Kind of big there, and together they cooked a great blend of character-driven action, comedy, and drama. The combination and chemistry of stars Mel Gibson and Danny Glover was magic.
I'm surprised you haven't heard about me. You know, I got a bad reputation and sometimes I just go nuts like now.
Riggs is a young loose cannon whose daredevil antics are a mask for the extreme pain that he's suffering from the tragic death of his wife. He's described in the first movie as being a lethal weapon, because he's a one-man army with nothing to lose. Murtaugh, on the other hand, is an older, world-weary detective who just wants to survive to retirement so he can be a full-time family man. He has everything to lose and represents the everyman in this pairing. He's the audience's way in. They are total opposites, and this produces one of the best on-screen bromances in film history. They're both incredibly funny together, but things also get very real and serious at times, especially in the first film where Riggs is so damaged and suicidal that it's only in his friendship with Murtaugh where he discovers a reason to live again. The series' earlier films are especially crafted to pull the rug from beneath the audience with tone. In the second movie, you'll go from the fun bickering of the guys with Joe Pesci's character, and the three of them were funny as hell together, by the way.
Hey, listen, if we're going, shouldn't I have a gun? No!
To Riggs being faced with a man who killed his wife, and then robbing him again of another chance at love. The movies invest you with the humor and fun relationships, to then just later break your heart by putting these characters through hell. After the second movie, though, the series became less gritty and focused increasingly more on humor and getting more crowded. The third film adding Rene Russo to the cast, who had great chemistry with Gibson, by the way, to then adding Chris Rock in the fourth movie, who you kind of wondered what the hell he was doing there. He felt a little out of place. And as the series went on, the heart of the bromance between Riggs and Murtaugh became more diluted in the overflowing pot of added supporting players. So with that in mind, I'll jump right into where I'd rank these movies. Coming in last place, I tossed in Lethal Weapon 4. As I said, it was a little too crowded and the focus was all over the place. The humor tipped the scales into being too close to full-blown comedy for me. I will say, though, that Jet Li was a great physical villain and gave our heroes one of the most thrilling final fistfights in the series' history. The action in general in this one was actually pretty solid. It was also nice to see the guys finish off with a happy ending. Overall, though, this one felt the least lethal to me. Up next is Lethal Weapon 3. It lacked the punch of the first two, but it managed to hold on to the focus and tone better than the fourth one. Riggs and Murtaugh were separated for too big of a chunk of the movie by a subplot, with Murtaugh killing a kid that only loosely connects to the larger story. Now, while Riggs and Russo were fun together, you watch Lethal Weapon to see the guys together. There's some really funny scenes, like the opening where Riggs and Murtaugh attempt to disarm a bomb and they fail hilariously. It's a serviceable action film, but it doesn't reach the classic status of the first two. Coming in number 2 is Lethal Weapon 2. The movie did what every good sequel should. Give us more of what we liked about the original, but deliver it bigger. We were presented with some of the funniest moments, but also the most dramatic in the series. From the funny scene where Murtaugh is stuck on the toilet by a weight-activated bomb, to Riggs pulling his drowned love interest from a watery grave. The action at the end is personal and feels more dangerous. You get the feeling that one of these guys could die during the final showdown. The story also provided some nice payoffs to things that were set up in the first movie, like Riggs's dead wife coming into play, that whole revenge plot. This one delivers the full package. Now moving on to the best Lethal Weapon. I'd go with the 1987 original at number 1. I'm sure you all noticed with the pattern that I've been ranking these that the quality for me goes up the further back in time we go. A lot is owed to this one, not only for establishing this franchise, but also for breathing new life into the action genre. Donner and Black established their unique blend of comedy and drama here in their writing and directing. They leap from tonal opposites. In the same sequence, we go from a funny moment where Riggs out-crazies this attempted suicide jumper, to shifting to a serious note, with Riggs almost killing himself in front of a shocked Murtaugh. A lesser filmmaker would not be able to transition between these tones, but Donner juggles it all like a master. The action and spectacle may grow bigger in the sequels, but it's hard to beat this bromance origin story. The fireworks between Riggs and Murtaugh as they developed their friendship in this one is the reason why this franchise exists. And with that in mind, I'll now jump into the new TV show pilot episode. So after 18 years, is Lethal Weapon truly back? My answer is a very firm no. This episode was misfiring on all cylinders for me. That crucial chemistry that was at the heart of the film series is lost here. Damon Wayans is overall doing the best with what he has, I guess. I think something is missing in having him be wealthy, thanks to his wife being an attorney in this series. Murtaugh is supposed to be an everyman, and that worked better when he was just your typical middle-class working guy. The addition of him also having just gotten open heart surgery, at this moment it feels unnecessary, but it could maybe add some kind of payoff as the series progresses. Performance-wise, I think that Wayans is a replacement that I can tolerate, which is more than I could say for some other things in this series, which then leads me into Riggs. It's Clayne Crawford's Riggs where things fall apart for me. That sense of unpredictable danger that Gibson infused his suicidal Riggs with, that wacky smile and twinkle in the eye of a man on the edge, Crawford can't juggle humor and drama the way that Gibson could. It's just not there with this guy. Sure, he has the same name. Sure, he has the same backstory. Well, except, in this version, his wife is not only killed, but also his unborn child. Oh, and not only that, but she just so happens to be in labor and on her way to the hospital when she's struck by the truck. They even have Riggs show up at the hospital expecting to see her giving birth, to then be hit with the tragic news of her death. This really feels soap opera dramatic to me. Wasn't it enough that just his wife was killed in the original? Do we really need to push any harder to make this loss sad or to gain audience sympathy? This feels too plotted and constructed for the sake of drama. Beating us over the head with this drama in the opening was also not the best direction. They should have withheld this information until later. Find out about Riggs as Murtaugh finds out about him. Because, Murtaugh's always been the audience's way in. Anyways, I digress. I don't blame the actor because I'm sure he's good in something else. He is just not Riggs to me. Not in his attitude or in his presence. He seems too stable and cool-headed. There's talk about how unstable he is, but I don't really get that emotional instability in his behavior. Sure, he's a risk taker. But Gibson had this great ability to walk into every scene, and you just had no idea what he was going to do. That was a huge driving force of the film series. Murtaugh would try to keep his hands on the wheel, but Riggs would just grab it from him and drive the narrative. Murtaugh was along for the ride, whether he liked it or not. In the show, because Riggs' craziness and humor is toned down, so is the dynamic between these two. There's no fireworks when they're on screen together. It just feels like they're going through the motions. Now, aside from Damon Wayans, was there anything else that worked? Well, there was a montage that juxtaposed Riggs and Murtaugh's average mornings that I liked. I think that the middle action piece where they have a car chase into the Grand Prix wasn't bad for a show, but the finale action scene was pretty forgettable. Overall, though, the series seems to make hardly any attempt to capture the feel of the originals. It, too, feels very going through the motions. The basics are there, but not the soul. It's not a terrible show, it's just that it feels like any old cop show and not like a Lethal Weapon show. I mean, would it kill them to at least have a little saxophone music thrown in there? But, so if I were to rank this against the film series, then there's no question that it would come in last. Now, that doesn't mean that it won't get better, because some shows take time to really get rolling. After all, rebooting Lethal Weapon on TV with a new cast was always going to be a huge challenge. But unless I hear a lot of positive buzz at some later point, then I see no reason to continue watching this. I'll just go back and watch the fantastic film series instead for my Lethal Weapon fix. So I think that about covers it. Click like if you enjoyed the episode. Feel free to comment below if you want to discuss the movies, how I ranked them, or your thoughts on the new show. Do you agree or disagree with me? I'd like to hear. Please subscribe, and join me next time when I nerd out about something else. Until then, this is Mike, signing off.